Now, I imagine, would you say, and this is for everybody that's watching right now and who's either watching live or the recording, our experiences leads it to somewhere, right? And so you've had some difficult times in your life, right, where you've didn't have a place to stay, and and so on. I'm going to let you share your story, but did that lead you to this? Is that what shifted you to go from an engineer, which is school-based, education-based learning, to become something that in life, in a life, I guess, life learning experiences to a different path that you went to college for, and you're here? Like, what? Let's get personal here. What shifted that?
I think there was a series of things that happened early on in my life that made that shift. First of all, something that I don't share very often is that I've had 3 near-death experiences. A lot of, I don't know if people can relate to that, but I've literally died 3 times before the age of 25. And 2 of those accidents happened in 2010 when I was working literally as an engineer, and I went on a trip to Costa Rica. I had a major accident on an ATV. And what's crazy is that within 30 days of coming back to the U.S., I was driving in L.A. on a green light, and a truck runs a red light and literally hits me at full speed. My car topples over again, and there goes my 3rd accident within 30 days of that accident in Costa Rica. So those accidents, one thing that it made me realize is that life is short, right? Because there was nothing else that I could learn from that experience other than I have a purpose to fulfill, and life is short. Nobody's guaranteed a long life. And I think that we can all, agree to that more than ever nowadays. Now, the second thing is that I was working as an engineer, but I listened to not only my heart, but I looked at what was going around me. I had graduated as a structural engineer. I was working as a project engineer for a consulting company. And I looked around to the people that were 5, 10, 15 years older than I was. And they were literally in a cubicle next to me, right? Or the office around the corner. And I looked at their lives, their enthusiasm for life, their passion for life. And it really got to me because it didn't seem like I fit in. I could do the work, but I wasn't passionate and excited about the work. What's crazy is that in the last recession in 2008, I got laid off. Right, literally within a couple months of me starting my work as an engineer out of college. And when that happened, I remember perfectly. The head manager of the office called me into his office. I had no idea for what. It was the morning. It was like 9 o'clock in the morning, and I go meet with him. I sit down, and basically he tells me that they lost their funding because we were a consulting company. We had private projects, so they had lost their funding because of what was going on in the economy, and they were going to have to lay me off. Well, apparently they laid off over 50% of the engineering workforce that day. It was very bad for the firm. But I remember walking back to my desk with a smile on my face because I had the sense of like faith and optimism that it had happened for a reason. Now, at that point, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea that the world of personal development and what I do now existed. But I just knew that there had to be something else that would bring me more passion and excitement and give me fulfillment for what I was doing. So it took 8 months for me to find my next job. And during those 8 months, instead of sitting around, at home applying for jobs, waiting for somebody to call me to get my next engineering job, I actually picked up and I started doing sales, direct sales for an organization. And their training introduced me to personal development. I had never in my life ever heard of people like Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and Les Brown. Never. I had no idea that industry and that world existed. But as soon as I started going to those trainings, I fell in love. I fell in love with learning. I became passionate about learning. I forgot about the company and what the company was doing and selling. I started literally obsessing over reading. During the course of 24 months from 2009 to 2011, I literally read over 500 books just in the area of success, psychology, business, or listened to books in audio. And that's because I became obsessed. And what's funny is that I had never read a book my entire life, cover to cover, even through college. Right? That's hard to believe, but in college, as an engineering major, most of my work was physics and, engineering classes and math classes. So when it came to English and English related courses, I just did the basic to get by, and I never really got into reading. But once I found what I was passionate about, I loved it, and I couldn't stop reading and learning. So that happened in 2008. In 2009 and 10, I just kept reading. By the end of 2009, I got my second engineering job at a big, worldwide infrastructure engineering company. But at that moment, when I got that job, I already knew it was temporary. I knew that I wasn't going to last there very long because my passions, there was something calling me to the personal development industry. So I did the job the best I could. And literally in 2010 is when I had those two near-death experiences, one in Costa Rica and one in LA. So when that happened, and it made me realize that life is short and that nobody's guaranteed a long life, I couldn't stand being in a job that wasn't fulfilling, and I didn't feel that I was purpose aligned. So those incidents drove me to literally April of 2011 to quit my job in the last time I ever worked as an engineer. And I've never looked back ever since. Even though the journey's been up and down and it's been hard and I've had to pivot along the way, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, it was the right decision for me, and it made me realize that I don't want people to have to nearly die to figure out that they have a purpose. I wholeheartedly believe that if you're watching this, you have a purpose. There's something that you're meant to do. There's people that you're meant to serve, and the world gets in the way sometimes. Habits, society, responsibilities get in the way, but you're meant to be doing something that fills your heart with joy and a sense of purpose. So that's the people that I want to serve more. And what I'm focused on doing is helping those people kind of find that clarity so they can go out there and be of service and have a fulfilled life.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that right now. I think what you experienced in 2008 to 2010 and how you shifted and it, you read a book cover to cover. I think a lot of people right now in this moment are listening to you, no matter if you're watching a recording or live, are understanding and seeing themselves in your story. And I think that's the power of stories. I mean, I'm sitting here and listening to you, and I'm like, wow, it's very courageous to want to, change and pivot. And I'm pretty sure not how many people thought you were crazy leaving a educated system to be an engineer to go chase something that you're passionate about. I mean, a lot of people are going to face that in the next coming or facing it now, right?
I had my closest friends literally confused because when I was back in school, I mean, I was co-founding organizations. I was at the top of my game. I was doing good in my classes. Everybody looked up to me for help. So when they heard that I was leaving engineering and going in a complete, it's not even engineering to management or engineering to something else. It's like a 180-degree turn into something that's completely unrelated to engineering. They were confused. I mean, some of them said, why don't you stay and actually just do it on the side? Or, why are you doing this? Like, people couldn't understand. But in my heart of hearts, I knew for a fact that it was the right decision for me. And I just kept going. I kept moving forward. So, I think this happens to us, it can happen multiple times throughout our lives. When we get to a point where we're starting to look back and seeing, hey man, what I'm doing is not very fulfilling. Or I'm meant to do something more. Or I wish I could help these people, right? Because I wholeheartedly believe that you could find a cause, a group of people, a community, a tribe, and dedicate your entire life to be of impact, be of service. Whether that's one person, a classroom, a family, or millions of people around the globe. There's people that are waiting for you to step up and have the courage to pursue that passion, that purpose that's calling you. And it's scary sometimes. And I can't tell you, I mean, even after I wish I could say that after I left my engineering job, I started my business and it just took off. It wasn't the case. I struggled, and I've struggled over and over and over again. But in the process, I've had amazing successes. I've had the opportunity to, travel throughout the U.S. training engineers at oil rig in Alaska. I've had the opportunity to train attorneys at the Department of Homeland Security in San Francisco. I've had the opportunity to train CPAs in LA. I've had the opportunity to just go to the Navy base or the Marine base and train staff people on emotional intelligence and project management and getting more clarity. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I would have stayed as an engineer. I've also had the opportunity to help build companies into generating $26 million in sales in 5 different countries. I've had the opportunity to just recently write a book, and those are successes. But along the way, I've also had to live in my car during a time where the business failed and I had no income. And of course, I had my engineering degree, and I could go fall back and become a engineer again. But I was so committed to the project I was working that I didn't care if I was literally living in my car and going to shower in the gym and going and buying just basic food at the 99-cent store so that I could continue to work on my passion. And that decision that I made it early on. I decided that it didn't matter whether I was succeeding yet or not, but I decided that I would rather work on something that is purpose-driven, that brings me joy and fulfillment, and be living under a bridge if I have to, than to live a status quo, comfortable life in a job that I hate. I cannot stand, it's not the job component, right? You can have a job and be fulfilled and passionate. It is the fact that it's not in alignment with who you're meant to be. And that's the key, is listening to that inner voice and having the courage to step up over and over and over again.